everybody, it's Mecha Draco coming to you with new observations of society. And in today's episode, I wanted to discuss what I'm calling hashtag Stakegate. Basically, this is a set of articles that has been recently coming out here about Trump eating a steak at one of his restaurants or one of his hotels, or a restaurant in one of his hotels. That was well done. Apparently with ketchup. So, I'm not really entirely sure why this is news, and I consider it low-hanging fruit, but I am myself low-hanging fruit, so I'm going to go after it. So, let's go right into it. So, to start off with, we've got ourselves the first article that I actually read. That was an article from something called the AV Club. It says, President Trump's orders his steak well done with ketchup. Now, this is a paragraph-long article. I'm not entirely sure why this is even actually an article. I'm not sure who the AV Club is. I don't know if they're satire or not, but regardless of whether they are or not, it kind of doesn't matter. They're not the only ones making articles on this particular subject, so it's a little strange. But let's move right into this. We'll just go ahead and read the first paragraph, or the only paragraph here, not even a full paragraph. What asshole goes out to dinner at one of the nation's capital's most acclaimed steakhouses, one of his steakhouses, I might add, orders a 30-day dry-aged New York strip, and it was a 28-day aged strip, I might add, then asks the chef to cook it well done, and if that's not enough, eats it with ketchup like a 5-year-old. Well, give you one guess. Trump to serve his entree according to a waiter who wished to remain anonymous. The president ordered a well-done steak, an aged New York strip. He ate it with catsup, as he always does, the sides and appetizers on. Last night, President Trump reportedly ate well-done steak with ketchup. This is like, and what's weird is the fact that this is like breaking news. This is like a celebrity having steak, and they're like, breaking news. Michael Jackson came back to life and had steak. You know what I mean? It's like, that would be news. But this is like, oh, Trump went to a restaurant and had steak. He's a person. He's a human being. Is he not allowed to have steak? Is he not? My God, this overgrown child is how this article actually ends it. Right here at the end. Moving on to the next article. It's an article from Refinery 29. It says why it matters that Donald Trump likes his steak well done with ketchup. Now, keep that in mind. Keep that article's title in mind, because the very first sentence in the beginning of this article is, in the grand scheme of things, Donald Trump's steak order is not a big deal. Meaning that you're blatantly saying you're fake news. As soon as you start off, your article is like saying, oh, well, why it matters. Oh, well, it really doesn't. It's like, what's the what is that? It's so, I don't even know where to begin with how stupid that is. I don't know what you would call that. Like, I'm not an intelligent individual. I don't know if that's like irony. I don't know if that's hypocrisy. I don't know what that actually specifically falls under. But I do know one thing: it's stupid. It's idiocy at its core. You start off by saying that it matters that he has a thing, and then you immediately say in the very first sentence that it really doesn't matter. We're going to move on. The rest of this article basically goes on to describe primarily the main argument most articles have been making on this particular subject. This particular subject basically is trying to say that he is not going to ever change. The first part of this article basically goes on to describe how bad it is to eat a steak well done with ketchup, and how horrible it is, and how bad quality it is, and everything like that. Like, that has some kind of influence on the decision that they're actually trying to make here. But as the article goes on, it actually starts to go on to like medium rare steak is to a kid pretty gross. Properly prepared, the thing is bleeding with you when you cut into it. That closer to aliveness than most are willing to get around ages 5 or 6. When you start to get older, society starts gently nudging you towards medium rare, which basically is like saying that, oh, well, you got to conform to the rest of us. We got to like medium rare. I don't know about you, but I don't like medium. Well, I like medium rare, of course, but I don't like my steak rare or medium rare. I like it rare. I want it rare. I want that thing mooing at me when it comes out. And my mom, she likes it well done. And my stepdad, he likes it medium rare, but he likes it with ketchup. That or steak sauce, whichever one he can get his hands on at the beginning of it. It's like everybody's their own person. Everybody likes their steak in their own way. Why does it matter what he likes or how he likes his steak? Why does this matter? Why is this an important thing for him to have? It makes no sense to me. It goes on to basically continue to say that this is how society basically pushes people. They like medium rare. It's better for you. It tastes better, blah, 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 blah. But then it synopsis its overall attempt at what it's trying to make at the very end of here. These last two paragraphs. So Trump essentially bathes his bad steak in cheap flavor and calls it a day. That's not horrible, except for him and his dining companions, but it does mean that he will most likely never change. I mean all this to say, we can't and should protest all we want, and we can probably reach the members of the government more flexible about their steakhouse orders, but don't ever expect the man up top to do anything different. And it's like, it just seems like it's the dumbest thing to actually describe. To actually try to argue. It's like you're saying that we can't ever argue to Trump because he'll never change his ways. He'll never think. And it's the whole we can and should protest all we want. It's like it's not your obligation to protest. It's your obligation to try and make things work, to try and get things to work the way they want. You want things to think. You don't just protest. Protest doesn't always do everything. Maybe you should petition instead. Maybe you should get out there and talk. Don't shut everyone down like you always do and shut everyone up. Why don't you get out there and try to talk to us all about all of this and try to actually describe to us what's going on here. Moving on from this, we're going to go into another article called from Eater. Eater's first thing is actually how Donald Trump eats his steak matters. Now, this article is a really long article, so I'm not going to read a whole lot of this one. It primarily goes into basically the same thing the last article did, how his steak order somehow is magically a description of how he'll never change who he is and how he thinks. As you can see here on the majority of this list here, it doesn't actually it basically just goes into how good the steak is. This is from Eater, so it does kind of make sense that it's going to talk about how much better an actual steak is for you, how a well done steak is actually a lot better for you. But this just goes on and on and on and on and on to describe all that crap. And it ends here at the very end here, pretty much finishing up with the last little bit. It's the last one did. So we're just going to read the last paragraph here and leave it at that. Our last two paragraphs, I apologize. Again, for those who out there who like their steak cooked all the way through, your preferences are fine. It's fine that you persist in this, despite the urgingness of your steakhouse chef, your well-intentioned server, your friends, your family, your critics, thousands of magazine articles, hundreds of cookbooks, and the entire collective wisdom of thousands of years of gastronomy, all to whom are saying, try it, you'll like it. They're not setting you up to fail. They truly believe that you will like it, and that it'll make you happier. That they just want you to be happier. They do, in fact, have your best interest at heart, but you're under no obligation to listen to them. But for some reason, if you're Donald Trump, the President of the United States of America, the man who is now and in the foreseeable future the most powerful figure in the world, categorically rejecting external input and can be catastrophic. It may just be steak, but it also everything. It's a choice to silence experts who suggest a different path, to dismiss their course corrections, to reject the very premise of the expertise outside a person who can have value. A person who won't eat his steak any doneness, but well, is a person who won't entertain the notion that there could be a better way. I'm just going to leave it there. The fact is that this makes no sense. They're literally in the very last sentence basically say that it really doesn't matter. I don't know about you, but the last time that I went to a steakhouse, nobody told me how to cook my steak. Nobody told me how I should have it. No one told my mom when she ordered it well done how they should have it. He was like, oh, you should really try it, medium rare. You should really have it medium rare, not well done. What is that? You know what I mean? I mean, everyone is basically just going on this idea, like this. All these articles are just basically going off this idea that for some reason, because he chooses to eat his steak like this, he chooses to eat his steak in a abnormal fashion, in a way that a lot of people don't agree with, it means that he's not going to listen to other people. And here's the question for you. How do you know he didn't or hasn't already tried steak the other way? He's an old guy, and he's rich. I'm pretty sure he's had steak before. I'm pretty sure he's probably tried steak before at another location, some other time. How do we know he hasn't tried medium rare? How do we know he hasn't tried rare? How do we know he hasn't tried medium? How do we know that he hasn't just tried just dry, well done steak? How do you know we haven't tried him with steak sauce? We don't know what he's tried. We don't know. All we know is one guy who apparently is his butler, and one apparently it's a chef in another, and apparently it's a waiter in another article. We can't ever even tell who the hell it is. Somehow one random person basically goes off to say that he does this all the time, and because this person says he does it all the time means that he's done it all the time. And that's it. Period. We're done. End of story. But no one actually asks, has he ever tried a medium rare steak? Maybe he doesn't like medium rare. Maybe he's tried it before and doesn't like it. I mean, they say, oh, we're trying to make you happier. That's the reason why we're saying you should try medium rare, because we think that you'll like it better. Well, what if he has tried it and maybe he didn't like it? We don't know. Have you asked him? Has anybody gone out there and just blatantly asked him, hey, straight up, have you tried medium rare steak yet? Anyways, enough of my little ramble there. I'm going to move on to the last article that I've got going on here. It's from Vanity Fair. This is actually the only one that I actually agree with, because it is kind of truthful and honest. It's probably the only actually close to honest article I've actually seen. Starts off by saying Trump's well-done steak dinner was an ethical mess. As the president prepared for a big week in Washington, he managed to get in another plug for his hotel. Effectively, we can already see how this article is going to start off. It's trying to argue the one and only concept that I can actually say I agree with that somehow his attempt to eat a steak over at his hotel is basically lifting his hotel up. He's advertising essentially his hotel. And the only real problem I have with all of that is the only people actually making like articles about this crap are the mainstream media and other third-party left-leaning media parties that are saying how bad it is that he's eating a well-done steak. And all I can think is, you're the one basically provoking this. You're the one. You guys are the one who are spreading this. You're the one who are advertising for his hotel at this point. You know what I mean? Now, the first part of this article is a long-winded description, effectively, about how of him basically going. Him during his campaign trail, and then moving into him slowly but surely moving into them going to the hotel in DC where he got his steak this last time. So I don't know what it's all about, but we're just going to move on to basically the end of it. The third to the last paragraph actually starts on him describing him eating at the actual hotel, but they don't actually go into it. So I'm just going to read the last two articles here, or last two paragraphs here. The prospect of President Trump showing up for a meal unquestionably boosts the hotel even further, and I don't disagree with that. If you're a Trump supporter or anyone interested in observing a sitting president dousing a well-done steak and ketchup, or watching the Secret Service in action, and you know there's a greater likelihood that he will show up at the hotel than anywhere else, well, then that's where you're going to hedge your bets and book your next DC meal. Completely agree with that. Fact is that Trump did go to one of his steakhouse. This is actually one of his hotels. So he's essentially basically advertising for his hotel. Whether he did this intentionally or not, I don't know. I can't speak on that behalf. It's very possible that he may have, but I can't speak on that. And the fact is that him eating there does kind of, sell it up a little bit. Last paragraph. This fact can't be lost on Trump, who has spent decades branding his name, slapping the letters Trump across buildings, casinos, ties, water, and even now defunct Real Estate University. The man and company are inseparable. Even if he has stepped away from the day-to-day operations of the Trump organization, critics call the president's financial entanglements with the far-flung multi-billion-dollar real estate and licensing business a legal and ethical nightmare. Trump counters that his supporters knew what they were voting for and didn't care. And the problem is that they make it seem like we're just totally absent-minded about this kind of stuff or something like that. Or that he basically just was like, he's like going, ha ha, you guys didn't know, you guys blah 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 blah. But it clearly shows his tweet here, and it clearly shows a much different story, in my opinion, anyways. Prior to the election, it was well known that I have interests in properties all over the world. Only the crooked media makes this a big deal. Right, exactly. It's not a big deal. We know that he has property. In fact, it's the fact that he has property that we voted for him. He's a real estate mogul. He's a businessman. The country needs a freaking businessman. The country needed a businessman to make it work again, to make it great again. Sorry, probably triggered a few SJWs there with that. The fact is we needed somebody who was good at business, regardless of their stature, or regardless how much we may or may not agree or disagree with him. We needed somebody who could bring us out of the hole that we're in. And the fact is that Trump is the one to do that with, in my opinion anyways. Whether or not this actual whole Stakegate thing was really like a nightmare with the whole advertising, him trying to boost up his hotel or something like that, I don't know. In the long run, most people aren't propagating that particular concept. This is the only article that I've actually read that actually goes into this. That goes into this whole ethical issue thing. And I agree with them on that. I certainly do. And I will definitely say that I agree in the long run that it's dangerous for someone like Trump to be going around and doing this kind of thing. To actually be indulging in food and stuff like that from his businesses, because it is basically boosting them up, and that is a bit of an ethical question right there you got to ask. So I can agree with that. I won't argue too much against that one, because it's very plausible that is the case. But you still have to ask yourself in the long run, is that really his intention? Was that his intention in the long run? And if it was his intention, can't we just ask him? Would he be honest about it, and so on and so forth? You know what I mean? I guess in the long run, I'm just saying that no matter what article you look at, because I'm going to post all the articles I've listed obviously here today, and I'm also going to post the Washington Post article. I wish I could have done that one, but for some reason it would not allow me to record it. So I will just post that video up here for you guys. The fact is, most articles aren't touching on that fact. Most articles are touching on the fact that he's a child. He's set in his ways. He'll never make any choices beyond his normal spectrum of choices. And I don't know how you can get that from a stake order. I really am worried. I am concerned about the ethical issues when it comes to this, but it's all skeptical. It's all hearsay. You know what I mean? You're just saying that he's that way, and that's all there is to it. You can't prove it in any way. Now, should he probably avoid eating at locations like that? Yes, he probably should, from just for a little while at least. But I think we've got the point pretty much at this point. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll be happy to have a debate with you guys. I certainly hope you guys enjoyed the video. You know the drill: like, favorite, subscribe, and as always, good luck out there, guys, and don't forget to have fun.